Thank you all. This is one of the last photographs I have of my grandfather. I'd taken it on his 87th birthday, about 7 months before he passed away. He had Alzheimer's, and in this photograph, he was 5.5 years into his battle with the disease. This photo reminds me of everything he was, an optimist, a fighter, to the very end. But this photo also reminds me of my family's journey, the many bad days and the occasional good day. What had started with misplaced keys and frantic phone calls eventually gave way to personality changes, aggression, depression, and eventually loss of all function. My dad and his brother looked after Baba, my grandfather, through all of his illness, but eventually it became so overwhelming for them that we needed a full-time caregiver. Nothing had prepared them for the physical and emotional demands of caregiving. Even though I work in the healthcare industry, I doubt I would have been any more ready in their situation. You see, as my grandfather was going through his illness, I looked for solutions that could ease the caregiving burden on my dad and my uncle, and that could improve the quality of my grandfather's life as Alzheimer's ravaged his brain. But I found very little, mostly informational websites, a few support groups, and some products that didn't really work. Do you worry about caring for an aging parent or grandparent? I do too. And working in the healthcare industry, I worry a little bit more because I know that we face a much greater challenge than our parents did. And I also know that the current healthcare system, unless changed, will fall short of what we need. You and I are going to be the caregiver generation, and we will need better solutions. So today, I want to explore what we here in the GSB community, future investors, entrepreneurs, executives, can do to make a difference to this issue that matters to all of us. Let me start with a few numbers. We have 40 million people over the age of 65 in the US today. They form 13% of our population, or 1 in 8. By 2050, they will form 20% of our population, or 1 in 5. Today, we have 5 taxpayers to pay for the care of every senior in the country. By 2050, we will have only 3. 2050 is not that far. It's only 35 years away, and we will experience the impact of these numbers in our lifetimes. Not only will we face a greater share of the cost of care, we will also face a greater burden. And here's why. People are living longer. The average life expectancy is 78 years today and is inching up and to the right into the 80s. The fastest growing segment of our population today is people over the age of 85. Fewer people today die from heart disease and stroke, but the prevalence of chronic conditions such as cancer and diabetes remains high, and dementia, which is linked to age, is expected to become an epidemic. And in fact, it's set to become the 6th leading cause of death among seniors, surpassing diabetes. The healthcare system was designed for acute care and procedures, not to take care of people with chronic conditions over a long period of time. And in fact, of our 40 million seniors, only 2 million live in assisted care facilities and skilled nursing homes. 38 million live in the community in their homes, and that's where we will need to care for them. As you all know, Medicare reimbursements have been declining, but what you probably didn't know is that the cost of uncompensated care, or the care provided by families, you and I, accounts for $450 billion on an annual basis, and lasts on average 8 years. We should expect those numbers to increase. And this is not just a US-only issue. Countries like China, Japan, and even India, that people consider to be a young country, also face this challenge. For instance, today in India, those over the age of 60, defined as the elderly, account for 8% of the population. By 2050, that will be 20%, or 323 million people, more than the current population of the US. This is a real problem, and it's a big one and a global one. Some of this will require national policy changes, and it will require medical advances. But I see a real opportunity for all of us here at the GSB. And today I want to talk about 2 opportunities in particular: product innovation and reimagining extreme users. Let's start with product innovation. And no, I'm not talking about incontinence products and walkers, in case you're wondering. What I am talking about is smart solutions that help seniors live healthier, more independent lives for longer, connected to the people that they love in their homes. Technology, things that we do so well here in the Valley, sensors, wearables, mobile, touchscreen, have such a tremendous potential to create better tools for seniors and their caregivers. And let me show you a few examples of what I'm talking about. Lift Labs, a rock health startup, created LiftWear, a spoon for people with Parkinson's disease. It works just like your iPhone camera. It detects shake and cancels it, and allows people with Parkinson's to feed themselves. Here's another example, the Bee Shoe. I don't know how many of you knew, falls, yes, falls, are a $30 billion problem in the US. Falls happen when our footprint moves out of our center of gravity. While you and I can self-correct quickly, seniors can't. And so they fall more often. But when they do fall, the consequences are often catastrophic. Between 15 and 20% of the falls lead to a hip fracture, and 50% of the people who suffer hip fractures die within a year. It's staggering. Many solutions have been tried to this problem with little success. The Bee Shoe is taking a novel approach with accelerometers. What they do is detect a fall that's about to take place and force a senior to take a step backwards, helping them regain their balance before they fall. And here's another example, Lift Hero, a Stanford startup out of Steve Blank's Lean Launchpad class. They created Uber for seniors to help seniors get to doctor's appointments, the grocery store, and do other things that make up their daily lives when they can no longer drive. So my point is, you don't have to be a healthcare expert, a medical doctor, to be an entrepreneur in this space. And quite honestly, there's actually never been a better time to be an entrepreneur in this space. Reducing the cost of senior care, which forms the vast majority of the healthcare costs in the US, is a national priority. And the key players, the government, the AARP, health insurers, and health systems are getting behind it. I don't know if you all knew, but this is leading to the creation of an emerging and thriving ecosystem of startups that are starting to come into this space. Startup health data shows that the number of startups in this space increased 33% between 2012 and 2013, and funding increased 60% over the same period. The AARP estimates a $20 billion opportunity, and that is just in the next 5 years, and only in the US. Even if you choose not to be an entrepreneur in this space, I'd urge you to still look at opportunities in this segment, which is an increasingly important part of the consumer market. And this brings me to the second opportunity I want to talk about, reimagining the extreme user. Katie Fike, who was speaking at Stanford not too long ago, is the co-founder of Aging 2.0, a network for entrepreneurs and investors in the space. And Katie said something which was quite interesting. She said, if you design for seniors, chances are that your products will find a bigger market. If it's intuitive to them, it will be intuitive to many. Not too long before my grandfather passed away, I was visiting him. I was sitting by his bedside, looking at old photographs of us, scrolling through my iPad. He was watching me, and at one moment, he reached over and took the iPad from my hand. And without my prompting him, his finger slid across the screen, and for a moment, I saw his eyes light up. As the memories came back, I saw a smile wash across his face. It was a magical moment. I was so shocked. I couldn't imagine that in his condition, when he didn't know the day of the week it was, he could operate an iPad with no instruction, and that it made him happy. Katie's words were true. We are going to be the caregiver generation, and we will need better solutions. So this is what I ask. If you are a GSB student looking for a startup idea, I hope you will consider opportunities in this space. If you are at a startup or at a company, I hope you will look at the segment with a renewed lens. And if you're an investor, I hope you will fund ideas that can make a difference to all of us. But here's one thing we can all do today. Call your parents and your grandparents and tell them that you care. They will appreciate that call. Let's go change lives, the lives of the people we love. Thank you.